Good afternoon, welcome back. I am Sensei Kevlar, and we are going to be studying the MACD today. Just a minute ago, I went over how we built the RSI, and what I described to you was a moving average, a window over a period of values that we are going to average together, okay? There's another way of doing averaging over a window, and that's to treat older values as less interesting. So in order to accomplish that, we divide them, we basically multiply them by some percentage of them. So we get some percentage of them. So say that, this is, we get 90. So because this is older, this would be equals 102 times 0.9. I'm just doing this as an example. You wouldn't really build your moving average this way. Your weighted moving average is what this is called, times 0.8 times times 0.7, etc., all the way on down the line until at the very end of it, this number's almost dropped off to 10% of its original value, okay? What this does is this treats more recent values as being more relevant in our sample set and less recent values as having less weight in our sample set. And the idea here is that we can actually, as we progress forward, we can simply multiply these again by the same percentage, and they will exponentially decay over time in our sample set. So we call this an exponentially weighted moving average. And this forms the basis of our next indicator, the MACD. The MACD stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence, okay? So let's talk about that for just 1 second. What we're going to do is we're going to take a moving average, same thing as the RSI. So you can think of this as an RSI, except instead of just one RSI, we're going to compute two different RSIs. And the way that we're going to compute those two different RSIs is we're going to use different time frames. The MACD consists of two different time frames, a fast and a slow. We'll say one is one is looking 12 back, and one is looking 26 back. Okay. The idea here is that we can use and then our signal smoothing is our exponential rate of decay, and this is just a smoothing factor in order to decay the things over time. Okay, so we're measuring a slow long-term trend against a fast short-term trend, okay? That slow long-term trend is represented by the orange line right here. This is the slow long-term trend, okay? Then the fast short-term trend is able to move much more quickly. And we can see that here when we look at the correlation on our chart, that when the blue fast-term trend, the blue short-term fast trend is moving quickly, it's because the market is moving. But in the slow-term trend, you still have all of this weight dragging you down that you don't have in the short-term trend. In the short-term trend, these older values decay, and we're not looking nearly back as far. In the long-term trend, we're looking back nearly twice as far, so we have much more weight dragging down the long-term trend after the short-term trend moves. Okay. Then, what happens is we get what we call a MACD crossing. This is where the fast trend crosses over the slow trend, okay? What we're signaling here is a trend reversal, specifically a fast trend reversal against the slow trend, a short-term trend reversal of going down against a long-term trend of going up, okay? And then finally, we have one more indicator that's actually being computed here for us. That's this red line right here. And what the red line is we call that a histogram. And what that is doing is that's measuring the difference, the separation between these things. So the more acceleration, the more separation you get between these, the higher the red goes on that side. And then when you get a crossing, that histogram goes back to 0 with the crossing in order to show that there was no difference between them. And then when you get a crossing down here, okay, this is where the histogram goes negative on us, okay? Like the RSI, the MACD is highly correlated. You will find that the short term and the long term tend to be highly correlated. The RSI will tend to be choppier because we're not using exponentially weighted. We're just using a strict average window. So it includes everything and there is no weighting for older things. The MACD does use a smoothing. It does use an exponentially weighted moving average that decays older values. So older values tend to have less effect and newer values can go ahead and push us up faster. And this can respond faster in this way. This is really just a preference when you're building your indicators, what you use. These are tried and true and have really been, tested and well understood a lot. So what can we learn from this? Well, let's look at what's happening here, right? What this MACD crossing told us is that whatever long-term trend and whatever short-term trend have occurred before, they are now back in sync with each other. They are now ready to go sideways again. They are now agreeing that we are no longer going up or going down in the short or in the long. Okay, this is called a convergence, and we're getting a crossing of the fast over the slow, and so we call that a fast, a upper crossing, as opposed to when the opposite happens. Here is a lower crossing, right? A crossing below, where we have the fast taking a really quick trip over and above the slow. The short-term trend taking a quick trip over and above the long-term trend, only to again move into a sideways channel when they converge. This happens in this market over and over and over again. Let's see it happen, okay? Resistance, Williams, RSI, MACD crossing. Look at what the MACD crossing told us. The Williams told us where the bottom was. The RSI told us where the trend could go next, like a return to the normal at this level. The MACD told us we were way in this negative trend. We had done a lot of recent selling here, okay? Therefore, the MACD was well below the 50% line. This will tell you the short-term trend. This will actually tell you the long-term trend and the short-term trend right here on the same chart as they are correlated. This is a correlation. This is a convergence. This is a divergence right here. This is the moving average convergence divergence, okay? When we are measuring divergence, the market is moving rapidly. When we are merging convergence, the market is moving sideways. When we are below, we are overbought, or sorry, oversold rather. When we are below, we are oversold. When we are above, we are overbought. Trend lines. This is computational trend lines. Without us going up here and drawing in this trend line right here, this indicator has told us everything that we needed to know. This indicator has told us that the trend has moved from buying to selling. Absolutely. Okay. This tells us that the trend has reversed. Short term, we're able to go back up and even do some positive recovery here. Okay. this is a really clear sign that we can buy. Look at this, resistance, support rather. Here's bouncing off the support line, falling through it, finding support again. What is the RSI telling us? What is the MACD telling us? Clear buy signal, absolutely. We've got a lot of divergence here. We've got a lot of a very clear trend on the RSI. We've got a very clear bottom off of support. How many more indicators can I build? It's all about just trying to keep on going with this strategy. And then once I have figured out what a MACD crossing tells me, let's go back and find more MACD crossings. This is what I'm going to do, is I'm going to say, hey, MACD crossing, was it above or below? Okay. If the MACD crossing was below, did we get profit opportunities going forward? Yes, we did. Did we need to plan accordingly? Yeah. Yeah, in order to maximize our opportunities right along this leg right here, we needed to plan accordingly in order to really get the maximum proper opportunities here, okay? But small position sizes will make that fairly straightforward to do. If you start at 001 off of this bounce, or even if you start at 001 off of this bounce, or one position off of this bounce, then you got to double up here. I'm not sure I would double up here, but you're already profitable up here. Okay, so could we have figured that out from the MACD? Well, I certainly would have avoided this buy off the MACD. I certainly would have avoided this buy off the RSI. I would have waited, see a nice bottom, see a nice double touch, probably would have waited until in here, right? Where the MACD is telling me we're still in a negative trend. We're still not really sure if we can still go down more. This is the first sign. This is the second sign that we can go up in a trend, okay? But it's still not really with us, right? So while this is true, buy carefully. Buy very, very carefully, right? It isn't until we really get down in here that we can get a really solid divergence followed by a really fast crossing. What a buy signal. Look at that crossing right there. Could that crossing have told me a better place to wait for? If I was a bag holder from up here and I got stuck into a position and I didn't want to buy in here because my portfolio just couldn't handle doing that, it really needed to do it here and then skip this one and come in again down here because I really want to use triple and quadruple and 5x up. Yes, you could have done that if you started with small positioning. It starts with one position, 0.001. This makes all the math easy. This makes any math you want to do in your planning really straightforward, right? Because you can 2x, 3x, 4x up, 50-50 this, do anything that you really want to do once you understand all of the things that you need to see. This is another indicator that I really like. All of these three together form the foundation of my technical analysis. Anytime I'm looking for an entry point, this is the very first thing, and this is the first 10, 15, 30 seconds of me looking at a chart. You want to know how I read a chart in 3 minutes? Well, I spend 10 seconds looking at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm done already. I've seen everything that I need to see based off the trends. I see this trend right here. I see this trend right here. Let me draw them in. I see this trend right here. I see this trend right here. Let me draw that and that. Okay, just glancing at the RSI. Where is the RSI going? It's going from peak to valley to peak. Really nice, good peaks. Could I have been here in the market and done something about it? Sure. I would have absolutely known, don't buy right here. That's a terrible place to buy. Look at this, MACD above, long-term trend sideways. Look at this, long-term, did I say it? Long-term trend sideways? The indicator told me. I didn't even need to look at the chart. At this point, I can sort of rely less on the chart and more on my indicators to really tell me the directionality of the market. I can't tell the fine details of that directionality, but I can certainly tell that we're going to have moved down from here to here, and I can certainly tell that we're going to have moved from here to here, and I can test this. I can plan for this profitability. I can make a strategy that will 50-50 me in, and if it goes up from a market middle, I can profit, and if it goes down from a market middle, I can profit. And when it really hits these extremes, I'm really going to think very cautiously about what I'm doing next, right? But if I'm 50-50ing, well, I can sell here, I can sell here, I can sell here, I can sell here, and look, when it comes back down, I can buy it all back right here on the trend, right? Or maybe I need to double up, and here I have to triple up, quadruple up, 5x up because wait a minute, I sold too much. I need to sell more, and I bought it back too soon, right? Sell more, 5x, 6x up, then I can come right back down and buy it all back again at a profit. Look at how I profited from a tiny leg simply by very, very sanely selling 2x, 3x, 2x, 3x on my sell position, okay? I started by selling 0.001, and then I 2x'd that, and then I 3x'd that, then I 2x'd that again. Now, do the math on that. If I 2x and 3x and 2x, where's my position at? What is my actual profit level against that? How much do I need? How many times can I afford to do that with my portfolio? How often can I do that and be wrong? Plan for profitability. Don't plan for loss. This is the way of the trader. Thank you, everyone, for your time.